First off, hey everybody. Secondly, we got a big Georgia update over on my locals channel from David Cross. Head down to that description if you want to watch that interview. Okay, now we move into some can't believe it, gotta spread it, have to reveal it, treasonous news. Was this planned? Because I'm curious if this was planned. From OANN, Pompeo says Biden knew Afghanistan would fall to Taliban without U.S. military backing. Former Secretary of State Mike Pompeo said there was no leverage for Americans during the chaotic Afghanistan withdrawal. In an interview on Friday, Pompeo said the U.S. had actual leverage when we held Bagram Air Base and had troops on the ground. However, that leverage no longer exists. Check out this next statement. He added he believes when the Biden administration officials talk about leverage, they actually mean money, implying the U.S. would pay the Taliban to let remaining Americans out. I'm sorry, what? You're using American citizens as leverage to pay the Taliban money to allow Americans out of the country? Which means you're purposefully acquiescing to the Taliban, allowing them to hold American citizens as hostages so you can pay them money? You're allowing them to hold them back on purpose? Can anybody else corroborate this Mike Pompeo suggestion?
Right now are 19 American citizens and their families and 40 SIV holders and their families. Those would be translators who worked with the United States military that are waiting to fly out of Mazar-i-Sharif on those charter planes. That is being held up by the State Department and the White House. I want to repeat that. I want to repeat that. I want to repeat that. It is the State Department and the White House.
That's from David Rode, the executive director of The New Yorker, on MSNBC. Let me repeat that. On MSNBC. I'm just trying to comprehend this. I just want to make this clear, because I know I move fast in these videos, but the context of the video's format should not diminish the news's potency. You're allowing U.S. citizens to become hostages to use them as leverage points to pay the Taliban money to allow them to come home. That's just... it's just incomprehensible. And then that begs the question, if you're not allowing American citizens to come home, who are these planes filled with? And then when you get reports like this from NBC, where U.S. plans to send at least 2 Afghan evacuees to Kosovo for further review because of security concerns, people start to wonder if this is a planned event. I'm pretty sure they're more than wondering that. The story says the U.S. plans to send at least 2 Afghan evacuees back out of the country to Kosovo because of security concerns raised as they arrived at the U.S. airport, said 2 sources familiar with the U.S. evacuation. The sources caution, however, the federal officials are acting out of an abundance of caution, and just because a person is flagged does not mean they are a terrorist or pose a threat. Of more than 30,000 evacuees from Afghanistan to the United States, about 10,000 needed additional screening as of Friday, the sources said, and of those, about 100 were flagged for possible ties to the Taliban or terror groups. And other evacuees who are currently being evaluated in the D.C. area were found to have been deported from the U.S. previously for past criminal offenses. So not only are you importing onto domestic soil potential terror threats causing a security breach, but now Afghan evacuations raise concerns about child trafficking posing humanitarian crises as well. The Associated Press is reporting that U.S. officials are looking into reports that in the frantic evacuation of desperate Afghans from Kabul, older men were admitted together with young girls they claimed as brides or otherwise sexually abused. U.S. officials at intake centers in the United Arab Emirates and in Wisconsin have identified numerous incidents in which Afghan girls have been presented to authorities as the wives of much older men. While child marriage is not uncommon in Afghanistan, the U.S. has strict policies against human trafficking that include prosecutions for offenders and sanctions for countries that don't crack down on it. Bringing in potential domestic terrorist threats and human traffickers, what kind of leader would support something like this? And what kind of country is going to support the Taliban as they make their formal government announcement to take over Afghanistan? Potentially these governments. The Taliban has invited 6 countries, Turkey, China, Russia, Iran, Pakistan, and Qatar, to attend the ceremony for the announcement of the formal government. And when asked about whether he, the leader of the free world, would back them as well, this was his response.
I can't hear you.
Will you recognize the Taliban?
No, that's a long way off. That's a long way off. Thank you.
Will you recognize the Taliban? That's a long way off. I honestly can't be more exasperated than I've been in the last few videos. This is just really unbelievable stuff. Not only are you forcing American citizens to become hostages to use as leverage points to pay the Taliban, confirmed by multiple sources, and you're not vetting the people coming in so you don't know who they are or where they're going, but when asked if he has plans to meet the people that he's bringing in, even though he doesn't know where they're going or who they are, this is his response.
Do you plan to meet the Afghan refugees?
Do I plan to meet them?
Yes.
Well, they're all over the country. And I'll be sure I'll be seeing some of them.
And Mr. President,
They're all over the country. I'm sure I'll be meeting some of them. You can always count on good old Joe to say the quiet part out loud. I think I'm going to go with the Republican from Florida, Brian Mast, when he says, impeachment is absolutely something that should be considered. I would say no less than 10,000 counts of reckless endangerment. All of the American lives over there, that's the minimum, which is actually a real crime. We know for a fact that the Taliban is the sworn enemy of the United States of America. We are still in the midst of the war on terror, and as I said, I would absolutely consider the manipulation of intelligence, giving aid and comfort to the enemy. All three of those things are part of what meets the constitutional definition of treason. And that, Representative Mast, is what comes next. If only we could get some Congress people to step up. I know Marjorie Taylor Greene's already out in front of this, but you know what? I got a better idea of how to stop this madness. And that is what we talk about over on Locals.